To today's Infrastructure and Regulatory Committee meeting. Emergency procedures are on screen. If you're not familiar with them, I think probably most people are, but they're up there to read. Just basically follow the instructions of our staff. All right, mi karakia tātou. Tuia te mana aki ra rangahia he mana rangatira, kia tipu, kia puawai, e ripo nā wai o te awa kairangi. Hi kaiti aki te whenua, hi oranga taio, hi oranga tangata, haumi e, hui e, tāki e. We're on to apologies. I have an apology from Councillor Puketapu, who is involved in other council business. Are there any other apologies? I don't think there are. Or late or early departures? No. So I move that the apology from Councillor Puketapu be accepted. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barrett, thank you. All those in favour, aye. Against, declare that carried. Public comment. I'm not sure we've got anyone here for public comment. We haven't. Conflict of interest declarations. Does any member have a conflict they wish to declare? Excellent. Straight into it. We're going to talk about time-limited parking spaces. Well, there's three issues to do with traffic in front of us, and I invite Paul Hewitt, Head of Transport, to speak to us. Paul, we've read the report. Is there anything that you want to highlight to us or any changes?
Kia ora, councillors. Thank you, Chair. I can take the report as read and happy to answer any questions.
Well, let's start off with the Cuba Street one. Does any councillor have any questions on that? The Stevens Grove Pavilion, that's pretty straightforward, that one. Knights Road. Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, I drove past here yesterday and realised there's a real hodgepodge of time-limited parking down there. You can see it in the map, 3 P60s and then 2 P10s and then a dozen or so 120s and then 1 240. And I understand the reason for this proposition here, to make it easier for the residents of this new development to park. I did note that there are 20 units in there and we're only talking about 6 car parks, so it's going to help a few of them. But my actual question is, what is the purpose of all this time-limited parking on that part of Knights Road? There's one dairy there, that's the only business on the whole street, and there's, I don't know, 16 or 18 time-limited parks around it. There's already plenty of parking for commuters at the train station, so I really wondered why this P120 parking is needed at all.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair. Looking back, I understand that the time-limited parking was introduced in part, obviously, with the location of the dairy. There's the P15s around the dairy. And further down, they was to avoid commuters taking up all the car parks that are available at that end of Knights Road. So some P120 was introduced, forgive me, I can't tell you when, some time ago, to enable some turnover of parking for visitors to any of the properties around there, just to detract from commuters taking, I suppose, overflow car parking from the railway station, taking all the parking at the top end of Knights Road.
Councillor Dyer, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, it's very much the same question, but just following on from that, the site where the new development is, did there used to be some sort of commercial type operation there? Looking on Google Maps, it looks something, but I can't work out what it is. But obviously that's gone now. I'm just questioning, do we need these P120s when there's unrestricted closer to the train station? Surely those will get filled up before. Seems like there used to be something here that's now moved and we're kind of going, well, let's just put them over there without much use as to what they're for.
Through the Chair, I don't know what was there previously, but my understanding from the previous resolutions was that P120 was always just to keep some car parking on Knights Road rather than all falling potentially to the commuters' all-day parking.
John's got some advice for us.
Thank you, Chair. I think, and we do have a briefing later this morning around the Waterloo development from Matlink. there'd be the opportunity to look at the wider area once those plans have kind of firmed up and we get some timeframes around that. So completely agree the P120 doesn't really make sense, but I think we just need to see the impact on parking in the wider area with that development, and we'll provide that a little bit later. So, and the timing around that as well.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'm happy to move that we convert 3 P15 parking spaces on Cuba Street to P30, that we approve conversion of 2 unrestricted parking spaces in Bridge Street for use by police, that we change the time restriction on those 2 council car parks to be at all times, and that we relocate those 120 time-limited parking spaces on Knights Road that we've just talked about. Do I have a seconder for those recommendations? Councillor Mitchell, any discussion? Easy. Put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Paul staying where he is to tell us if there's anything he wants to add to the report on the Eastern Hutt Road crossing and Myrtle Street Langs Road intersection improvements.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose the only thing to add in both cases is that a number of options for these sites have been looked at and considered, particularly in the case of Myrtle Street, where roundabouts, the installation of a roundabout had been considered, but the benefits gained from installing a roundabout at this intersection were no different to the proposed traffic island layout in terms of slowing vehicles down, so that had been discounted at that point in time. But other than that, happy to take any questions.
Councillor Lewis. I was about to say Deputy Mayor, sorry. Councillor Lewis.
No, that's right. I prefer this role. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. So you just said that similar in the roundabout result would be the same. What about cost? Are they different costs?
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, yes, it is a different cost. The installation of the traffic islands has been estimated at around $200,000, whereas constructing a roundabout would be closer to more likely $500,000, if not slightly north of that.
Some more advice from John.
Thank you, through Chair. I'll try not to do this too often. Just with this corner, it is quite a. I mean, we've had a number of issues where staff have been hit as well in their vehicles, particularly the Myrtle Langs, where the public, the stop sign doesn't seem to work. People just plough straight through. We have a number of schools in the area. The market is, will be relocating to the civic precinct as well. So this is an opportunity to shore up the safety in that corner. And I'm sure, there'll be other things that we'll be looking to do in the area to make things safer as well. But that's probably the key. And we will, once this gets approved and goes through, we will be managing construction around, timing around what else is happening in the CBD to make sure there's a minimal impact as possible.
Thank you, John. Councillor Shaw has a question.
Thanks, Paul. Really pleased to see the crossing going in opposite Pōmari Station. But question I have is about speed. So you come off the Mad Mile from Stoke Valley into Eastern Hutt Road, and it is a Mad Mile, and it's 70 k's. Is that regular practice for it to put a pedestrian crossing in an area of that speed?
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, it's not as common, but it's not uncommon. It has been done before. For example, I think Cobham Drive in Wellington on the way out to the airport, the crossing was put in there when it was 70 kilometres an hour. It is now 60 kilometres, but at the time it was 70. And we have been talking to NZTA as well around the installation of the pedestrian, well, signalised crossing in this location, and they are happy with it. In terms of the design manual, it fits in that space.
I'm probably anticipating it's going to slow people down anyway, isn't it, with its location?
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, yes, that's the intention.
Young.
Kia ora, Paul. Thank you very much. I just have a query around Myrtle Street, the Langs Road intersection. That point number 5 on page 22, referring to nearly 20 crashes were recorded in that time frame. do you have a bit of a breakdown around like whether that was car on car or, if that was pedestrians or anything like that?
Thank you, councillor. Through the chair, I haven't got all the details, but from what I understand, they were typically car-on-car accidents with more often than not cars not stopping at the stop sign. So there's reasonable visibility at this intersection, so cars are a bit overconfident with their speed and come through and just don't see other cars passing up Langs Road.
Councillor Dyer?
Yeah, I had a similar question with this one. That it seems like most of the improvements here are for, I guess, tightening the corner does make it to slow some cars down, but it tends to be the cars that are going straight through don't realise the ones going that way are meant to stop. It doesn't seem like there's too much adjustment for the cars, which seems to be more of the issue. It seems to sort of be improving the accessibility for pedestrians, which is obviously a great thing. But do you think the way it's sort of been designed, it will slow just everyone down to that intersection, or is there some sort of proposed changes to actually the cars?
Thank you, councillor. Through the chair, the intention is with the islands going in that they will restrict the approaches to the stop signs somewhat, which should slow cars down as they approach the stop signs. So basically, they are more likely to yield at the stop signs and obey the the stop rules as they should. If we still have further issues there, we have scope to potentially alter the islands on Langs Road as well. We don't think that's necessary at this point, but if there are still ongoing issues at this intersection, that is another option available to us in the future to further reduce car speeds and tighten up that intersection.
Thank you.
No further questions? Okay, it seems blindingly obvious to me who is supposed to stop at that particular intersection, but for the safety of car drivers and pedestrians, we need to do this. So there's a series of 7 recommendations to do with the signalised pedestrian crossing on Eastern Hutt Road and that intersection upgrade that we've just been talking about, corner of Myrtle and Langs Road. I'm happy to move those recommendations. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Young, I saw a hand go up. Any debate? Councillor Shaw.
I just want to say thank you, Paul, for this really long overdue safety feature for the pedestrians who currently run the gauntlet, I call it, when crossing the road from the parking area into the station. Now, as our nights get longer and the visibility is less along this stretch of road, this will really help keep our residents safe. So thank you for you and your staff.
Councillor Lewis.
Just want to echo Councillor Shaw's comments. It's a shame, really, that we have to have incidents to get to this state to put in crossings. So, we still feel for the family that lost a person there, and it's great that we finally got this installed.
All right, I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Right, moving from roads to water issues now. Welcome Hamish Bell, our advisor on water services, and also Sarah Gardner, who is our water services transition manager. Welcome both. We've heard your report, but there may be things you want to highlight to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there are. So we'll start with the sludge dryers. So I can confirm that Wellington Water has issued the notice to proceed for separable portion B for that part of the contract to Downer. So that's for the detailed design and construction. That was issued on February the 20th, and so the sludge dryer project remains on track for the new dryer replacement to be in place by the end of next year. So that's some good news. Renewals program. So the current renewals that we've got underway at the moment are progressing well. We are in the market looking to progress an additional 4,000 metres of renewals for this financial year. This will also focus on the asbestos cement pipes that are prone to failure, and we're sort of focusing on Wainui, Stokes Valley, Taita, Avalon again, so that's where the focus of that will be. That would bring our renewals program for this year up to about 10,000 metres, so that's really good news. So on the outfall pipe leak in Eastbourne, so you'll be aware that there has been a wastewater leak near Eastbourne. This is along the 18-kilometre long outfall pipe that runs from the Seaview Wastewater Treatment Plant out to Pencarrow Head. It's believed that the leak was caused by a seal failure. And so this leak was what has caused the couple of potholes on the road in that area. So Wellington Water has been focused on draining that pipe to prepare it for inspection and to begin the repair. So I had an update about 10 minutes ago. So the draining of that pipe hasn't gone as smoothly as expected. So basically the pipe is drained through some scour valves dotted across down the coastline. So south of Eastbourne has been fine, but there's been a couple of issues with some valves on sort of north of Eastbourne on that coastline there. So they're working to resolve that today, and then once that's been resolved, we're going to get contractors into the pipe to assess what's gone wrong and to undertake the repair. So that will happen. We're expecting that to happen tomorrow, and then the current plan is for the outfall pipe to be up and running by mid next week. The temporary road repair has been completed as of last night. They had to wait till the leak had been stopped before they could do that, so that has been done as of last night. The plant remains fully operational, and over this time we've got fully treated wastewater being discharged into the Waifatu stream at the Gough Street outfall. On Moa Point, so the investigation into the Moa Point incident is ongoing. Site cleanup there has been completed, and workers there sort of assessing the damage and working to manage the odour and the network flows there. So there's the long outfall that goes about 1.8 kilometres into the ocean from Moa Point, so that's been operating since the 5th of February. Except for there was a period during the heavy weather event a couple of weeks ago where they had to use the short outfall. As you know, Joe wrote to the Chief Executive of Wellington Water to seek some assurances around the inspection, maintenance and risk management arrangements in place for the Seaview plant. So we'll report back to you on that, and happy to take any questions.
Councillor Mitchell.
Just with regards to the discharge to the Waifatu stream, which does happen from time to time in heavy weather, and in those circumstances, I know the discharge is only made on an outgoing tide. But at the moment, with the long pipe out of action altogether, is that still the practice, or is there a discharge day round because of the volumes?
My understanding, I'm happy to double check my understanding, is day round.
Councillor Shaw, then Councillor Dyer.
Hamish, in this paper, I went looking for something that's close to my heart, and that is the renewal, or rather of the work program for the slippage close to the sewerage pipe above the Taita Rock on State Highway 2. Is that still part of your renewals program?
So Taita Rock is still being assessed, so Wellington Water still need to undertake the geotech investigation, waiting on Maritime New Zealand to provide a permit to do that. That's the next stage in assessing that. So we've got money in the budget to do that work, and then that's really to assess what the next steps might be with that in that area.
Councillor Dyer.
Thank you. I'm just trying to find the page number. There's mention of the odour improvements to the plant, having an independent assessment to assess how good it's been. It was due back mid-Feb. Have we got that report yet? And if not, when can we expect it?
Yes. So we have had that. So Wellington Water have had that back from Greater Wellington, and they're comfortable with the work that's been done. So that project at this stage, there's no further work on that project needed.
If possible, because I know it'll come up at tomorrow's Park Valley Shared Services, could that report be tabled at that meeting as well?
I'll request that. Yep.
Deputy Mayor Brown, you had a question?
Thank you. Councillor Dyer just asked one that I was going to cover, but I've got two questions. The water services strategy is due to go out to the public on the 25th of March. is that under Te Aki Wai, and do we play any part in that with that consultation? And also, where are we at with the conversations with NIF about the, funding arrangement post the transfer?
Thank you. Just in relation to the water services strategy, that's the Te Aki Wai response to the Statement of Expectations, which was signed by the Partners Committee on the 18th of December. There isn't a role for council to play in terms of feedback before consultation. There is obviously a consideration you might want to make around whether you do a submission or not, or provide feedback through that consultation period. We are hoping to bring you some further information about the water services strategy in a future meeting. We don't have any forward example of it at the moment. We did receive a presentation from Te Aki Wai as officers, just with some brief information about the strategy overall. So that's sort of where it lands. The Partners Committee will have, on the 13th of March, will have some conversation about the water services strategy, and Councillor Edwards is our rep on that. So the Infrastructure Acceleration Fund, the conversations with NIF, we have had conversations with NIF. What we understand from them but are further exploring is that we will need to have an arrangement where council continues to hold the relationship with NIF through the funding agreement that we have, and then we will need to put in place an arrangement with Te Aki Wai where effectively it's a back-to-back agreement, so that those terms are looked after by all of us collectively. But we'll come back to you with more detail on that. We're also liaising with Hamilton City Council, who have the same kind of relationship, to see what they're doing as well. And we're doing that next week.
Councillor Stellinger, then Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. It's excellent to see we're bringing forward some 6 kilometres worth of pipe renewals this year. So my question concerns the costing of that. I don't know, it's tough to look at a smaller sample like this and compare, but at a cost of about 12 million, that's about $2 million a kilometre, for my simple calculation, which is probably the highest figure we've seen or been advised of for costs per kilometre of replacements, somewhat. And as we know, several times what we used to pay. So my question really is, do we have confidence that this is a fair reflection of market prices? Have we got some comparisons from other councils as to what their average rates are, albeit we've all got different ground conditions, I know. I suppose I was hoping to see a bit of a drop because of all the work going on within Wellington Water to improve tendering processes and so on. So just, do you have any comment on that, please?
Yep, so there was a pretty thorough procurement process around bringing forward those 6,000 metres of renewals. So the additional 4,000 we're bringing forward, we're able to do that because the 6,000 came in far or lower than what was expected in terms of costs. So that 4,000 is coming from that window as well. Yeah, so that would be, that's my comment on that, I think. So and in terms of comparing with other councils, I can bring you some more information on that if it will be helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. Can you tell me a bit of...
Sorry, Councillor, Tony's got just a follow-up.
Oh, no, I'll happy to come back after Councillor Lewis. A different
It's a different topic. Okay, let's go Councillor Lewis and then back to Tony.
Thank you. Sorry, Tony. The collector, Petone Collecting Wastewater on page 30, the upgrade. Can you confirm the location of that, please? I'm just wondering, is it the Esplanade?
It is the Esplanade. So what this is, the plan is here. So we've got a abandoned Greater Wellington bulk water main that runs under the Esplanade in Eastbourne, in Petone. And so they're assessing that bulk water main to be able to repurpose that for the collecting sewer upgrade. that would involve a relining. It won't, so it's not going to be a full, not going to dig up the road and that sort of thing. It'll be they can manhole to manhole reline the pipe. That's the plan at this stage.
Thank you. I was just worried about traffic impacts further around the valley. Thank you.
Sounds a very cost-effective recycling type solution. Excellent, excellent. Tony, back to you.
Thank you. Just noticed my question relates to paragraph 32 on page 32, so some kind of synergy happening there. But anyway, it refers to the target outturn cost submission being approved. I'm not quite sure what that term means, but does that mean we now have a price for the project? And if so, is that commercially sensitive at this stage?
Yes, it's commercially sensitive at the stage, but so we went through a process of 3 high-level estimates of the project that was done over, we took a report to council last year on this, so 3 high-level estimates to review the cost. There was peer assessed by Alta, and then once that came back, there was again peer assessed by another quantitative assessor. And so my understanding is that the TOC that has been approved has come in lower within our target, the lower end of our target range for that project, but it is commercially sensitive. Yeah.
Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Reading through your report while we're here, it reminds me of the 50 shipping containers bringing the parts, and what will the impact be with the latest worldwide news?
Yes, good question, and I will have to factor that into the planning. There is, in the plan for the sludge dryer project, there is some wriggle room in that. There's a bit of contingency in that plan for shipping delays, things like that, foreign exchange changes and things. So that's factored in, but yes, they will need to be. We'll need to assess that the current conflict.
Thank you. Real quick one from me, Hamish. The Know Your Pipes program and the investigations that have gone on in the Waifetu Tilbury area, 20% of properties inspectors had faults. That seems, is that high compared to previous investigations under Know Your Pipes?
I think it's within what would be expected. I think so. This is been a 3-year or so program to deal with these properties, and Wellington Water through this program have been working with those properties to repair some of those issues. So there were 2 faults outstanding at the last report I had. So, but I've been working through those. I think they're on par with what they would expect. I mean, there were reports of E. coli. That's what prompted this investigation of this catchment area, and so I think it's quite good news that they've got to the bottom of it and resolved it. Yeah, but it was a high number, yes.
Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, just as a follow-up on that one, it talks about how a CCTV investigation found a break in the wastewater main on Rumgay Street. Was that CCTV investigation only done because the E. coli levels were high in the stream locally, or is that a practice that we're doing across our network from time to time?
I'll have to double check on that particular one, but it is a bit of both. So it's a bit of proactive, but also based on reports from faults that are logged, and that's what often prompts most of these investigations of faults. But we do definitely do proactive review in particular areas. So once they've done the investigation and completed the repair, then they'll sample it. But yeah, the based on, we get reports from the public of leaks that gets put through, they assess it. If there's a sort of a wider issue, then that's what prompts these investigations.
Councillor Dyer.
Thank you. Do we know yet if the Know Your Pipes program will be continuing under Te Aki Wai? Seems very successful and we hope it will.
Yes, it is a very successful program, and I am hopeful it will. So part of the Te Aki Wai transition, there's a stormwater task force that's been set up that's dealing with stormwater issues and where responsibilities and things are going to lie once Te Aki Wai is transitioned. Part of that is there's responsibilities there for managing the network, and I think that will still continue. And so, yes, I'm very hopeful that this program will continue.
Okay, excellent. Hamish and Sarah, thank you very much. This is just a noting report, so I'll move that the committee receives the report and notes the information. Seconded, please. Councillor Lewis. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Te Wai, Takamori o Te Awakairangi Streetscape Upgrades and Riverside Park. Lucy is going to talk to us on this one. Anything, we've read your report. Anything you want to highlight to us, Lucy?
Kia ora, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor and everyone. So today we're seeking your approval of a recommended program of upgrades for streets in the city centre. We're also seeking your approval to start community and business engagement on 2 projects, the Riverside Park and the streetscape upgrade. These projects are key initiatives to enhance the vibrancy of the city, support local businesses, boost investor confidence and attract more residents to our city centre. These projects were signalled in our city centre framework, and we've engaged the community last year, in particular on the city centre, on the streetscape project. The next step for us is to engage the community on concept designs and get their feedback. Following that engagement, we'll come back to this committee in September to get your approval on the concept designs before we move to the detailed design. So Bethany and I are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sorry, Bethany, I should have acknowledged you as well. Councillor, any questions? Councillor Mitchell, then Councillor Barrett.
Yeah, just a question around some of the suggested improvements to Bunny Street, which are around bus stops, just noting that Greater Wellington provide bus stops and not us. And also that probably one of the biggest issues on Bunny Street is the condition of the neighbouring property. So will we be working with those stakeholders, Greater Wellington Regional Council and the owners of Queensgate Shopping Centre, or are we proposing to spend ratepayers' money on rectifying those issues there?
We will be working with Greater Wellington and the adjoining landowner. Now we can't commit their resources, but we'll certainly be engaging with them.
Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Chair. Really pleased to see such a great report here, long overdue for hearing some wonderful things that are coming. My question is how you're intending to approach the community and lead them into discussion, please.
So we'll have a multi-pronged approach. Before the proper community engagement starts, we'll go and talk to the directly affected property owners and businesses, so those who face the streets if there's significant change, if that would impact parking or access to these properties, we will go and talk to them face to face. And then during the community engagement itself, we'll have a range of approach. We'll have drop-in events like we did last time where people can come at a time that suits them and talk to our staff. We'll have online options for people perhaps who have less time to come and see us, who can still provide feedback. We will reach out to rangatahi, disability groups, the normal stakeholders that we engage with, and separately from that we will go to our kawi mana whenua to engage with our mana whenua partners.
Might I ask if you do anything such as approaching the local grey power groups and places like that that don't tend to come out to a lot of events?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dyer, did you have a question?
Yeah, my question's on page 58, looking at the proposed city centre movement. It's great to see the primary vehicle movement line now showing Queen's Drive as sort of the primary route we want vehicles to travel through the city. And I know I've raised it before, but I am really concerned about the King's Queen's Drive roundabout, the tiny little roundabout back in New World. Just want some assurance that we are looking at this intersection. What's sort of happening with here?
So there are 2 projects that look at local streets, the streetscape upgrades, and we have another project called street optimizations, and that would fall in that street optimization project, and that it's a more traffic driven and as a result of the new Melling Bridge. No, I'm not working on that project, but we can get Eddie to come and talk to you about that at another time.
Any further questions? Councillor Stellinger?
Thank you. I was just noting the comment on page 41, which refers to the combined cost of the recommended program being 22 to 28 million, but we do have a $43 million budget, which is expected to be required once the detailed designs are completed. From the report, I understand that post-consultation we'll be getting the input for the long-term plan discussions as to how that's worked out. So my question is, given the targeted operating model we have approved and are working towards, whether the works envisaged here and the budget for them will be considered as part of that overall program, given we are trying to achieve savings across our total budget?
Through you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor. So these budgets have been locked in, and whilst there's the bigger amount under this budget, some of that has been used for elements of Riverlink and split across the various parts as we feed into Greater Wellington and NZTA works as well. So we'll bring updated costings to you later in the year, but we are certainly being fiscally responsible with what we're doing and assessing how we're going with this. So, and again, final decisions on all of this and those costs will come back.
Councillor Lewis?
Thank you. And still on costs, on the future OPEX funding, have we any idea of what the current funding is like for that same area at the moment for OPEX?
I don't have the figures with me. I think our plan is to come back in September with what we think the maintenance cost will be, and at that time we can contrast that with what the current cost, which is, the car parking is quite minimal, I suppose, what we've got on the riverside compared to what we might have in the future. So, yeah.
Thank you. Quick one on those same paragraphs that we're talking about costs, and it speaks about there could be some variance due to unknown ground and utilities conditions. We all know what happened on Thornton Quay in a cycleway that had to be dug up again and so on. So I'm glad that we're aware of these underground utilities. But what happens, we heard yesterday from Te Aki Wai, they've got a hell of a long work program. What happens if, or are we liaising with them in terms of upgrading pipes under where we're about, we could be about to be doing upgrades in our streetscapes?
We certainly will. Typically what happens is if we are digging up a street and the pipes are in good conditions, then that's fine. But if we think that they need to be replaced, then there might be a cost sharing in that they would not have replaced this pipe potentially for another 20 or 30 years, but they would have to bring forward these works because of us. So then we need to agree where the cost falls in relation to that.
John?
Through you, Mayor, just further from that, any works in the road corridor have to go through our operations team that sits under Paul, and final approval for any works rest in that team. So there's been a number of discussions and obviously change in entity with Te Aki Wai, but there've been a number of discussions with utility companies, construction, all sorts over the last 12 months getting ready for the Riverlink disruption. So if it's looking at, anything that's going to add a significant disruption to the network or to be done in anywhere where we're looking to do upgrades after that will all be timed and incorporated in those decisions.
Thank you, John. Any further questions? All right, the recommendations are that we note and receive the report. We approve the streetscape upgrade program and the approach to community engagement on it. And to, of course, to the Riverside Park concept designs, which will start as soon as practical. So I'll move those recommendations. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Brown, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Eastern Hutt Road Resilience Project. Paul is coming back to the table. Thanks, Paul. We've read your report. Anything to add to it?
Thank you, Chair. I suppose the only piece to really add is that we are acutely aware of the impact of the works in the CBD through the Riverlink project, and that the timing is not ideal. But we're also very aware of the condition of the crib wall and the pavement, and want to crack on as quickly as possible with that work. So the purpose of the report is to give you an update. The other piece to add is, as we go through the procurement, we'll be working with the successful contractors to look at their methodology with a view to doing as much work as possible off the road. Obviously that will involve engaging with Greater Wellington and so forth as well. But yeah, we are very aware of the impact this could have on the traffic, and additional traffic on Eastern Hutt Road at this point in time.
Thanks, Paul. Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, this is a really significant program of works when you look at the map on page 104. It's 20 slopes along one stretch of road. Do we have a real basic message for our community about the lifespan of this work? This is, you know, once we do this should buy us 50 years of not having to do any further work on that road or something along those lines?
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, a comprehensive communication plan has been put together at the moment, and yeah, the positive stories will be coming through as part of that communication plan as it's delivered to the residents and the public.
Further questions? Councillor Dyer.
Thank you. Is it our intention to have this program of work complete before the disruption with the bridge in and out? Is that the intention?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair. At this point in time, yeah, there are, I think, 19 sites in total. This phase of work that's received funding from NZTA is for five sites. Two are effectively what we're calling below the road, 3 above the road. Talking to the project team for Te Wai Takamori at the moment, the indication from the modelling is that we've got a window through to the back end of 2027 before there are significant increases of traffic on Eastern Hutt Road. We're looking to do that well in advance, and the approved funding will allow those 5 sites to be done and the design work for the remaining sites. When the implementation of those remaining sites isn't confirmed at this point in time with the funding.
Councillor Shaw.
Thanks for this, Paul. The Stokes Valley residents have got a little bit of a long memory when it comes to traffic hold-ups in regards to landslips and things. I'm just wondering if it would be really useful, my question is useful to put up a display of what's going to happen in the Kuranui hub when it opens up. I think we were a little bit shy on communication with the last stuff, so it'd be really good to be ahead of that and just have something there so that the local residents can get their head around it, because the delays are going to be significant again.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, yes, we'll take that on board and get advertising up. All the lessons learnt from the previous tranche of works on Eastern Hutt Road have been recorded and are being taken on board by the team as well, so we don't, we can do the best that we can do in this circumstance.
Cool. That's the end of questions. Councillor Parkin.
Thank you. So I'm just aware, having biked through that area, that the current cycle/footpath is, let's say, pretty gnarly. What's been considered as part of this redevelopment, particularly with the slips below the road?
Under the current GPS, cycleway improvements have been removed from the project. So we are looking at what could possibly be done in those spaces, but we've got no fixed plans for cycleway enhancements at this point in time through there.
Councillor Parkin.
But the cycleway that is there will be maintained, at least?
Our intention is to retain the existing cycleway. There's a Greater Wellington asset, I believe, but we are not looking to cut that tie. So we're acutely aware that cyclists use that trail regularly, runners and everyone else as well. And we'll be working with our contractors around diversions, particularly if we are working off the road. We'll be down in that space where the cycle track is. So we'll be putting plans together in terms of diverting users of the path and they're looking to put back at no worse a condition than it is currently.
Thank you, Paul. Those assurances are very reassuring that you're very aware of Riverlink and of cycling and so on, and thank you for your report, which is a receiving and noting type situation, so I'll move that. Have a seconder? Councillor Shaw. Any further debate? Put those all in favour. Oh, Deputy Mayor Brown?
Thank you. It's not debate, it's just comment on thank you for that report. It is a major, 20 slopes is a massive piece of work, and it has to happen. Councillor Shaw mentioned how difficult it got in the first round, and Councillor Shaw and Councillor Lewis fronted a very large and heated meeting. However, I think people are more aware of the extreme weather events now, and the need for this work that has to happen. They're seeing the slips. Just to back Councillor Shaw in that we can get those messages out as early as possible to support Stokes Valley.
Okay, the recommendation's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, declare that carried. Next on the list is the quarterly report on Silverstream landfill and an update on solid waste management and minimisation. Are we missing? We're missing Jörn Scherzer, but we've got Matthias West, Waste and Resource Recovery Manager.
Yeah, that's correct.
And Jessica. We've read your report, thank you, but there may be things that you want to add to it.
Tēnā koutou, and thank you, Chair. Just a few brief updates. I've got one on battery recycling rollout, and then I'll pass to Matthias for an update on the green waste response post-storm. So for battery recycling, we've highlighted it in the paper, but I can provide an update on the second phase rollout. So we're looking at early April for Kōrawhanui Stokes Valley Hub, Wainuiomata Hub, and Walter Nash to get those units installed. So they're just going through getting the installation of fire suppression at the moment. And then Petone is awaiting the refurbishment work, but I'll pass to Matthias on green waste.
Yeah, thank you. Kia ora. We had that big weather event on the 15th and 16th, which created a lot of green waste, or basically a lot of fallen trees and broken off branches. So Hutt City Council announced a waiver for green waste at the landfill on the 17th, and that was extended until the 1st of March. In those 13 days, we had over 3,697 drop-offs, with a total of over, where's my number, 626 tons of green waste dropped off. That's roughly what we would collect over 3.5 months in a period of 13 days. So that was quite a huge increase for the landfill. We had 2 days on the first weekend where we actually had over 2 days, more or less 600 vehicles arriving, which created a little bit of traffic jam. But we also collected more or less in 2 days what we would usually collect in 1 month. So that's a huge effort from the landfill team. A lot of kudos to Waste Management and their crew. They put quite a lot of effort in there, and actually it also created quite a bit of overtime for them to handle all that traffic. Yeah. Thank you.
Definitely kudos to the team there. I think the community really appreciated that, and Mayor Laban might speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just endorsing what everyone has said about the community and our own people involved. Over the course of it, it's clear from the numbers it was a tremendous success. So well done to everybody involved, especially our community. Just a couple of things. Just conscious that we're getting indications that 2026 we're going to see more weather events. So capacity is a concern in the immediate future. And then also looking long term, if this is an indication of where we're going as a world, where we're going as an uncertainty in our climate, what is the long-term life of Silverstream? Is that going to satisfy, or do we need to be thinking beyond where we are now?
Yeah, it very much depends on the event. If we would have something like Cyclone Gabrielle or something like that, we are looking at amounts of waste which would be in the order of several years what we would receive at the landfill. So this would mean basically we wouldn't be able to accommodate it immediately. We would have to find intermediate solutions where we store those amounts until we have created that airspace at the landfill. We usually have basically like for a couple of months, maybe half a year of airspace in reserve every in our operation. But if we exceed those amounts, then we need to come up with something, yeah, ad hoc basically. It happened at in the Hawke's Bay region, and they basically created those kind of spaces where they had the waste for intermediate storage basically.
If I may add to that as well, as part of the regional grouping on the WMP, we have a regional project looking at waste and emergencies. So that is being led by Porirua, and that is more about having a central repository of information, so what each council plans to do as an easier reference point in case of an emergency. That is looking at the larger scale emergencies like Cyclone Gabrielle or an earthquake. And then as part of our local planning, we are working to get some site operation plans ready. So where we need to activate a site, that we've got that in place to pick it up. And also to try and maximise diversion as much as we can to reduce that pressure as well.
Yeah, just while we're still on green waste, I represent our council on that regional committee you just mentioned. And I brought up this issue there that while we are making plans for emergencies, in this emergency, there didn't seem to be a regional coordination of what would happen with green waste. Our council made an ad hoc decision to offer that free green waste collection. Our neighbours at Upper Hutt started promoting it to their residents. Our neighbours in Porirua declared that they weren't going to do the same, so Porirua residents probably came here. Wellington eventually did decide to do the same, but several days later. So I imagine for a while our landfill was attracting all of the green waste from across the region. So I would just ask that we work together as councils before the next storm event to make a plan, a coordinated plan on who will do what. And I guess one underlying concern is the cost of this, because there is a cost to us to collect and dispose of green waste. That's why people usually have to pay. Do we have any idea how much that period of free green waste disposal actually cost our ratepayers compared to what it would normally, how it would normally operate?
Yeah, so yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a cost to us for green waste disposal. At the moment, I'm still waiting for those costs to come in. So I don't have the exact numbers at this point, but what I can say is basically the lost revenue, which we would otherwise have collected, is in the order of $81,000. And this is usually the revenue which we need to cover the costs around disposal of the green waste. I'm expecting some additional cost about the extra handling and the extra effort at the landfill, because it just we needed a lot more hands on deck to manage that event. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Just reflecting on that analysis, I'm thinking it would be really interesting to know how much of that green waste would have actually ended up in our landfill if we hadn't had the diversion in place and making the green waste cheaper. I know that there were comments of people bringing mixed loads to start with, and then once it became apparent that it was only for green waste, there was a change in behaviour. And I'm just wondering if that has any impact and whether or not what environmental impact in terms of our climate change emissions we've actually managed to mitigate by going towards a composting. I'm not expecting an answer now. I suspect that's a fairly complicated question.
Thank you. Yes, I can say by providing the option of dropping off green waste separately, we are already diverting quite a bit from the landfill. It used to be quite common, and I still see regularly rubbish bins full of green waste on certain days, and those kind of things obviously go straight into the landfill and have an impact on our greenhouse gas emissions. So every bit of green waste we can keep out is a good thing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Councillor Dyer, then Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. Poria City Council has just opened consultation on Spicer landfill with 4 options. All 4 options see their landfill closing, and all waste then transported to another landfill. How worried are we about Spicer closing, and how would a 25% increase per year of waste be handled at Silverstream in terms of its lifespan and the slope development plans we have?
Yeah, so we knew a little bit in advance that this would be coming. So we have already planned that a little bit in, that from 2030 on we get a certain amount of tonnage, which usually is currently going into Spicer. Obviously, this has impact on the lifespan of the landfill. It is basically, we are expecting something around the order of 30,000 tons to 40,000 tons a year. So that's from our current rate, which is around 150,000 tons. So it's roughly, it's a significant increase. From an operational perspective, as long as you know it in advance of it, you can plan for it, and it's not really a big concern. It's more or less just basically has an impact on the life of the landfill, basically.
Thank you. I was going to ask a question on the same topic, and I hope our council is planning to submit on that consultation, because of those 4 options, they may end up sending differing amounts of waste in our direction. My other question is, what other levers does our council have when Spicer landfill closes? For people in Porirua, at least, there's still a landfill in Wellington and one in the Hutt Valley. What other levers do we have to try and make sure as much of that waste heads to another landfill and not to ours?
Good question. So first of all, we are preparing a response to that public, sorry, I forgot the name, public consultation, perfect. So we are basically pushing or asking for them to use the one which obviously creates the least waste or the most waste diversion, so that the final amount which goes to the landfill is the lowest. On your question around levers, what we have to mitigate or to create streams, we don't have many, because we can't really control at the kiosk where the waste is coming from. It is just would be too difficult to onerous, and it would create just traffic jams at the landfill. What we can do, and what we are already doing, is that we try not to be the cheapest landfill around. So we try to be a little bit more expensive than everyone else for exactly the same reason. Yeah.
Through you, Chair, one thing that we are considering is pricing is principally the main lever available to council in terms of controlling waste flows. We have used pricing successfully to manage the landfill's positioning in terms of accepting waste. There is something we will look at in terms of pricing in the longer term with reference to waste. Matthias is correct in advising that there are certainly challenges, but it would be advisable for us to consider options in terms of looking at how we control some of that. The other thing council should be mindful of is amalgamation on the horizon as well. We're obviously talking in the context of these landfills and these assets being the individual council's responsibilities at the current time. There is a time into the future in 3 to 5 years if amalgamation goes forward. These will all be regional assets. So there's going to be a balance between considering levers available and work done in the short term compared to the longer term outcome, which may actually mean it's serving a regional catchment.
Thank you, Chair. And can I just have one more quick question about contamination rates? And this is on page 116. It reports that for a while now, seemingly, our contamination rates have been under the 15% mark, which means we're not paying penalties, which is great news. The graph shows a couple of different lines. One is I think a monthly percentage, and the other one is a 3-month rolling average. Is the penalty applied to a monthly amount of contamination or the 3-month rolling average?
The penalty is applied to the monthly contamination rate. The reason we've got that 3-monthly rolling average is just to kind of show the overall trend, because it is quite peaky still. Also, by way of clarification, we do still pay a penalty if it's over 10%, but the penalty is higher if it then goes over 15. So currently our penalty rates are sitting around 15,000 a month, whereas if we were over 15, you're looking more at about 30,000.
Deputy Mayor Brown has a question.
Yes, I was just going to ask a question about amalgamation, but also taking up what Councillor Mitchell said, and I think it's probably to a director, around our regional response to extreme weather events. I think do nothing is not an option, but like has been highlighted, when it's not coordinated, the region will still act as a region, residents. So at what point will we divert to regional thinking, knowing where we are likely going, but also this one is probably more extreme because we've got extreme weather events. So will that be one of the things that we just plough ahead with anyway at this point?
Through you, Chair, in terms of the response, in terms of the recent weather events, Council took an approach, and a leadership approach, to make green waste free at the landfill. We now understand how that worked and the effect in the volumes. We saw Wellington City Council obviously follow that approach. Other landfills didn't, as councillors previously noted. There will now be an opportunity to learn from this response, to connect with regional colleagues and to plan for future events. So that's what we will be doing as officers, though it'd be too early to necessarily advise on what that regional response looks like, other than there's always opportunities for better coordination.
Right, thank you, Matthias and Jessica. I move that the committee receives and notes this report. Seconder, Councillor Mitchell. Debate. All those in favour, please. Councillor Dyer has something to say.
Yeah, there's 2 cool things in the report that I really wanted to highlight. Like we already know, Silverstream landfill is one of the best landfills in the region, but the 2 exciting leading technology developments on pages 111 and 112 with the soil and aggregate recovery facility is really cool. It's a New Zealand first happening at Silverstream landfill, and also the asbestos destruction unit that's been talked about for a while, looking like it'll be here soon. Both are amazing at reducing the amount of waste we put into the landfill. Both are reducing things that we don't like putting in the landfill. I am really worried about Spicer Landfill's consultation options and the impact that will have on our own landfill. Great to hear that we're submitting on it, but we know our landfill is already filling up at quite a rate, and a 25% increase per year will only accelerate that. So I do have worries.
Excellent. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Okay, we're on to regulatory matters. Welcome Tim Johnson, Head of Planning, Justin Roberts, Head of Environmental Protection, and Robert Barton, Head of Building Control. Gentlemen, we have your report. Is there anything you would like to highlight to us?
Just one update from Richard Barton, Head of Building Control. Since the report was written, we had our IANS accreditation visit, so the Building Consent Authority, which is responsible for all consenting and monitoring of building work, is required by MB to have an accreditation visit. We had that. We got 2 general non-conformances and 6 recommendations, which is a good result, and we are considered a low-risk BCA, so we're on a 2-year cycle for revisit. However, as we are changing our IT system, we've got the pleasure of their company again in August to look at our new IT system. Thank you.
Great. Councillors, any questions on this report? Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, just a couple, and they are maybe additional information that's not in the report. There's a section in there that's other information to note. One of the things it says that it talks about the consent being granted for the cleanfill on Coast Road and that there was a deadline for appeals, which was before now. So do we know if any appeals were lodged?
Yes, one appeal has been lodged to the Environment Court. That appeal has been lodged by all or most of the submitters to that application. So we now wait direction from the Environment Court on how to proceed. The most likely step will be mediation, but again, we wait for direction from the Environment Court.
Thank you. And another one on that page was that council had been invited to comment on the fast track application for Belmont Quarry by the 26th of February. Did we comment on that one?
All that is being considered is the land exchange. We've reserved our comment for the future substantive application, which is relating to the actual physical works of creating the overburden area. So that will follow later this year, and we will be commenting on at that stage.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Stellinger.
Yes, I just had one. I've just temporarily lost my place, but there was I think it's the building consent average processing days. It's great to see that our statutory timeframe achievement has improved a lot and is looking pretty good at the moment, albeit we're having a few less consents, which probably a bit of relief from that given the huge increase. On the graph, which is on page 131 of our report, average processing days, I was just interested to see that there was a bit of a blip in January with the average processing days. We're still doing well in terms of compliance with statutory deadlines, so I'm assuming the consent applications weren't of such a high standard or maybe gave rise to more questions. Any particular reason you could point to for that increase just in that month?
Thank you, and thank you for the comments around improved performance. Yeah, so the line you're referring to there is the elapsed days, so that's the true customer time, and obviously we want that to be as low as possible so the customers get in their consent as quickly as possible. The more requests for further information and the more rounds of requests for further information there are with their consent, i.e. the poorer quality of that consent, the longer it generally takes from a customer perspective. They've got to go away, find new information, our clock stops, their clock continues. So it's generally related to that. We also have a process in place where if we haven't had a response after a certain amount of time, 40 days, we'll then go back to the customer and say, hey, look, you need to get back to us with some information, otherwise we're going to reject this application because it's been too long. And that's to help us manage our workload better. And so you sometimes get these blips over time where there's a number of historic consents that have been sat with us for a while that we're having to kindly reject, giving them sufficient time to come back, and they failed to do that. So that's probably the case. Thank you.
Sorry, I just did have one more question. It's about the parking infringements on page 137. And you can see there a real climb in them through the latter part of last year, and then they've come right back down again. I assume that's to do with our roving car issuing more infringements and hopefully coming back down because people have realised they have to be a lot more vigilant in parking correctly around our city. Is that what that trend shows, that little green mountain there that goes up and comes back down again?
Those are for the months November, December, January. I think December is to do with Petone, because we were not monitoring it in the same way that we were before, because it was free parking for December. And I think January is more to do with annual leave and that sort of thing, rather than any material change in behavior.
So are you expecting to see those infringement numbers go back up again to where they were in September of last year?
I expect so. I think school holidays also seem to align with parking behavior, so I would expect those to climb back up.
Councillor Dyer.
Sorry, just to clarify, you said you weren't monitoring Petone in December. Does it mean you weren't giving out infringement notices in Petone when it was free?
So the changes to make it free, no longer require payment, meant that there was no actual enforceability on Jackson Street because there's no change to the traffic resolution. It was just impromptu, hey, we're not going to charge customers. So even if someone stayed all day, there was no ability to issue an infringement. We did, however, continue to monitor the side streets where time-restricted parking was still maintained.
I thought we still had P240, 2-hour restrictions on Jackson Street.
Yes, but those were managed under warning letters and instructions to customers to say, hey, your vehicle's been here a while. We couldn't actually issue infringements on Jackson Street without changing the traffic resolution.
Yeah, that comes as a surprise. Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, just on that, isn't the underlying traffic resolution that those are P120 parks? And we didn't change that. We just, as you said, decided not to charge for them anymore.
Paid parking for up to 2 hours is the resolution, not P120 paid, is my understanding. Okay. We erred on the side of caution. We get enough appeals on a day-to-day basis, so we thought it not worth opening a can of worms.
Kind of hope that doesn't get widely known. Should we do that exercise again? Councillor Parkin.
Thank you. So follow-up question on that, and again, it's one that I expect will require a little bit of thought, but can officers come back to us with standing advice that if we need to put in and implement that type of motion again, for whatever reason, that we ensure that the monitoring is and fines are still enforceable in whatever concept that comes up with. Obviously, it was a fairly quick decision from our end, but as governance, we still need to be making sure that there's the turnover of those car parks and that infringement is part of that.
Through you, Chair. So in the event that happens in the future, that would be packaged up in the and ahead of time, because we know we're going to create a new Petone parking zone, for example. So any changes to that and any decisions members may wish to make will be considered at the time.
All right, that looks to be the end of questions. I'll move that we receive this report and note the information in it. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Lewis. Can I just comment on a positive note, with roaming dogs and biting dogs being in the news, it's good to see our officers looking closely at this. We've had an email to all of us as well on this topic. And great, Councillor Dyer was talking about innovation just before. There's more innovation going on here with AI being used to analyse complaints and where our roaming hotspots are, and our officers are using their time accordingly. So that's great, in my view. Anyone else have any discussion? Otherwise, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, gentlemen. We're moving to retrospective approval for council submission on the Building Earthquake-Prone Buildings Amendment Bill. Welcome to Inka Gleish-Humphries. Inka, is there anything that you want to highlight to us? We've read your report.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm there have been no updates or changes, and the report should be taken as read. Thank you.
Any councillor have a question on that relatively straightforward matter? No? Then I'll put the recommendation that council, or that the committee receives and notes council's submission on that amendment bill, and we retrospectively approve our submission on it. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Tonga Grant, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Right, last item on the public section of this meeting is our forward program. Anyone got any questions on that? I'll move that we receive and note that forward program, and we note the status update of approved traffic resolutions attached as Appendix 2. Seconder? Councillor Lewis, thank you. Discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. All right, we have a public excluded section of the meeting to move to. So I move that the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, namely to do with the CityLink Bridge principles requirements prior to market release. Seconder, please. Councillor Stellinger. Discussion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against?